It's finally happened. After quite some time courting the Seiko SPB143 and numerous lesser and greater Seiko watches coming and going in my collection, I've got one of my own. How did this come about? Well, I thought I'd be responsible and pay off a lens that I had recently bought, and a watch of mine went up for sale that did get some attention. Another Zin, which I seem to never be able to hold on to. However, somebody found my Achilles heel and offered up a trade plus money, and said trade, yep, this one. The watch has been on my radar for years now, so how could I resist? Damn it. There's a lot of history with this model, of course, or rather the model that it draws a lot of inspiration from, the 62 Mass. That was and is a great design, and a classic model for Seiko that commands 5 or 6 times the price of the SPB143, so stopping right there, it means you have to be comfortable with spending several $1,000s on a watch that still has Seiko on it, and no grand in front. I don't have a problem with the idea of that, but I certainly have a problem with spending small fortunes on yet another watch, so the SPB143 does in theory offer the perfect compromise. It's mid-range Seiko, which means sapphire crystal, the slightly, I'd like to say better movement, and generally a different feel than your entry-level Seiko. It also wears so incredibly well. This is Seiko design at its best, if you ask me, which I guess you are if you're here. If you're watching this video, it means you have also somehow perhaps avoided the model for some time, or you own one and is just curious on yet another video of a watch that was received so well. Whatever your reason is, thanks for being here, and let's get cracking. This model comes in both a coffee-like color and a blue dial, with black bezel. But somewhat boringly, it was the classic grey I wanted and eventually got. I did glance at the blue for a long time, but I feel this grey one is the most versatile and strangely the most beautiful also. It really does give out classy vibes on wrist, and it's difficult to fault the perfect dimensions. It is exactly 40.5mm in diameter, 47.5mm lug to lug. Lug width is 20mm and is 13.6mm thick. On its meaty bracelet size for me, it's 171 gram. Getting a bit closer, or a lot closer as I tend to do, it's strangely the hands that are the most interesting at first. The half-polished, half-brushed approach means they draw some extra interest and do hold up to scrutiny mostly. At least until you get real close and start nitpicking, but overall both the hour, minute and seconds hands are classy in their simplicity and reasonably well executed overall. The next thing is this lovely sunburst style that is sometimes dark and sometimes light, but always attractive and always grey. No shades of other colors, and I love that. It's really very good. The indices are applied, rectangular and chock full of lume, which I'll return to, but they are punching above their weight quality-wise in the price range, as you'd expect from Seiko, who can do these things well. The Seiko logo is printed well, as is the Prospex logo automatic and water resistance. I have no special hatred of the Prospex logo, unlike so many others. But it does also go on watches half its price, so that's possibly a bother for some. For sure, Seiko and just 200mm print would be ideal for my tastes. We do also get a fairly small date complication that is not framed. I'd love to get this without date, but I know many like it, so I won't complain about it other than being unframed. This is a later model that has the small lume at the date to comply with ISO standards. The sides within lack a retort of the dial, so it does appear to sit quite deep, or is it the bezel that sits high? Either way, you can see for yourself it's a fairly functional look, which is okay with me. The bezel feels buttery smooth to move, and I really like this feel quite a lot. It's not overly clicky and no backplay at all. This is the way to do it if you're using a coin edge design. It also lines up perfectly, so no jokes for once about this infamous Seiko quirk. The steel bezel is not loomed, but the loom peep at 12 obviously is to comply with standards. The case then. It's an H shape and the curved lugs follows the wrist perfectly and look brilliant from every angle possible. Brushed sides and top with polished chamfered edges is a classic and timeless design that is so attractive to behold. The perfect dive watch design. The super hardened coating means you get a dull grey, almost titanium look overall, and it's a great shade, and it means your watch should look fresh for years to come. The coin edge crown is not signed, which is a curious decision, but it would be a conscious one, which makes you ponder why that is the case. Is this driving towards minimalism, or could it be a shock horror cost saving? Worth mentioning is that the original 62 mass was signed, so it is a puzzling decision that I don't quite understand, so I'll avoid passing judgment at this point. What I don't like though is that it tends to almost stick to the case in its slightly recessed position, so be careful screwing this one down too tight or you'll be sorry, or at least mildly annoyed for 30 seconds until you can get some gloves on. The back of the watch has the tsunami wave, which is a classic Seiko touch, and it's screw-in as per normal, but it's what's behind that matters here. The 6R35 is the only movement I've ever heard be absolutely universally frowned upon on the interwebs. It is recommended by Seiko to be serviced every 2 to 3 years, which is of course ridiculous. Nobody will do that. So what then? It has a 70-hour power reserve, which is amazing. I feel like sometimes I'm not worn it for ages and it's still ticking. Seiko claims the accuracy of the caliber 6R35 as -15 to +25 seconds per day in normal temperature conditions, which is between 5 and 35 degrees Celsius. Mine easily does this. It's currently gaining about 10 seconds per day, which is not amazing, but also well within tolerances. There are plenty of people online that are getting strange deviations of more than 30 seconds per day. But I suspect these are squeaky wheel comments, as in you hear and remember the one shopping trolley with one of those over the 900 without one. Either way, it is acceptable to me. It most certainly could be better, but it's within what Seiko states, so it's difficult to argue with that really. The bracelet is way better than I suspected. I normally ditch these right away, but this sits so nice due to its weight and the interesting end link design. As per normal, it has the Seiko infuriating pin and collar design where two parts seem to explode away from each other at each adjustment, but it's a one-time pain, long-term gain. The fat fold-over security is excellent, I love it. The 4 micro adjust is enough for me, but what is a bit of comedy is the large diver's extension. It sort of hooks in and it's not easy to work out at first, and it's also not sitting flush against the wetsuit, nor does it look very elegant. It seems very old-fashioned and strange, but I'll tell you what, the whole arrangement looks like an impressive bit of chunky steel on your wrist, and that I can respect. Removing the bracelet to try on other straps must be done of course, but it does have this funny sort of ridge when you do, so it's not super obvious what to pair it with, and you need a fairly chunky option for it to look good at all. The excellent hybrid Artem strap is a very good option that also clearly meets the dive watch brief, so that's one you should consider being both rubber and canvas in one perfect match. I also really like this old green Erika strap too that meets the brief and looks great. This one is old now and still holds up, so you do get what you pay for with her straps. The loom is classic Seiko Lumi Bright, which is always excellent. This could be a one-watch collection for anyone, as in it looks great, has pretty good specs, dimensions and history behind it. It feels like a keeper in my collection, and I will definitely not service it every 2 to 3 years, I'm sorry to admit. If anything, I'd probably just get a new movement should something happen, since that's about the same cost and there are so many of them made that this movement doesn't feel particularly individual, which is a bit of a shame, but I'll get over it. The long power reserve means this is a bit of a grab and go piece, you know. It's seemingly always running, and a quick set before you head out will sort out any accuracy problems, and you can wear this with literally anything from suits to work clothes to diving to the cinema where the loom is always strong. I'm glad I finally sourced one, and if you're on the fence, I'd say pick one up secondhand like me and enjoy a classy addition to your collection. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.